Scary Skinwalker and Wendigo encounters. Deep woods horror stories. The scream came from the trees, sharp and wrong, like a person trying to sound human but failing. I stood frozen at the edge of the firelight, my heart pounding so hard I thought it would burst. Across the clearing, something tall stepped into view. Its legs bent the wrong way. Its eyes shined like wet coins. Behind me, another sound answered it, a low, hungry moan that rolled through the woods like cold fog. "Don't move," my brother Jake whispered. I wanted to run. I wanted to scream. But my feet would not listen. The tall thing tilted its head and smiled with a mouth that had too many teeth. From deeper in the woods, branches snapped as something bigger dragged itself closer. The air smelled old and sour, like rotten snow. The fire flickered, shrinking, as if it was scared too. Then the tall thing spoke. It used my name. "Evan," it said in my mom's voice. The fire went out. 2 weeks earlier, the woods felt normal. Jake and I had driven north with our cousin Mark to a small cabin near Pine Ridge. Mark said it would be fun. No phones. No noise. Just trees, fishing, and stories by the fire. Jake liked that idea. I did not. I liked lights and doors that locked. The cabin sat at the end of a dirt road, wrapped in tall pines. The trees leaned close, like they were listening. The place was old but clean. There was a porch with a rocking chair and a rusty bell on the door. "Probably bears," Mark said when I asked about the bell. Jake laughed. "Bears don't ring bells." The first night was calm. We cooked hot dogs and watched the sky turn dark. Frogs croaked near the creek. The fire crackled. It felt safe enough. Mark told us stories anyway. He talked about things from old legends. Creatures that lived in deep woods. Ones that copy voices. Ones that were never full. "Skinwalkers," he said, poking the fire. "They wear faces." "And Wendigos," Jake added. "Tall, thin, always hungry." I rolled my eyes. "Those are just stories." Mark looked at me for a long moment. "Stories start somewhere." Later, when I tried to sleep, the woods made new sounds. Something walked near the cabin. The floor creaked. The bell did not ring. The next day, we went fishing. The creek was clear and cold. Mark showed us a set of tracks in the mud. They looked like deer prints, but longer. Stretched. "Probably just mud," he said, but he wiped his hands on his jeans after. That afternoon, we heard a shout from the trees. It sounded like Mark. "Help!" the voice called. Jake jumped up. "Mark?" But Mark was right next to us, holding a bucket of fish. His face went pale. "That's not me," he said. The voice called again, closer this time. It said Jake's name. We left the creek fast. That night, we locked the door. The bell rattled once, softly, as if someone touched it with one finger. No one knocked. On the third day, Mark had to drive to town for supplies. He told us to stay close to the cabin. "Do not follow voices," he said. "No matter what." We promised. He did not come back before dark. Jake and I tried to stay calm. We made soup. We played cards. The woods pressed in as the sun went down. That's when we heard footsteps on the porch. "Guys?" Mark's voice said. "Open up. I forgot my keys." Jake reached for the door. I grabbed his arm. "Wait," I said. The bell didn't ring. We stood there, holding our breath. "Evan," the voice said, softer now. "It's cold out here." Jake looked at me. His eyes were wet. From the window, I saw a shape move. Too tall. Too thin. "Mark always knocks," I whispered. The voice sighed. Then it laughed. The footsteps walked away. We did not sleep that night. In the morning, Mark still hadn't returned. We found his truck on the road, empty, door open. There were drag marks in the dirt leading into the trees. Jake wanted to go after him. I did not. But we went anyway, because that's what brothers do. The woods changed as we walked. The light dimmed. The air felt colder. We heard chewing sounds. Slow. Wet. We found Mark's hat near a broken tree. We did not find Mark. That's when the wind carried a deep moan through the forest. It was not human. It sounded hungry. We ran. By the time we reached the cabin, the sun was low. We started a fire and stayed close to it. The bell on the door shook, harder this time. That's when the scream came from the trees, and the tall thing stepped into the firelight, and the woods answered with a second, colder sound. And now the fire was gone, and something moved in the dark, breathing right behind me. The dark swallowed everything. The fire's warmth vanished, and cold wrapped around my legs like icy hands. I heard Jake breathing fast behind me. Something else breathed too. Slow. Wet. Evan, my mom's voice said again, right beside my ear. I spun around and swung the flashlight. The beam shook, cutting through the dark in short flashes. For 1 second, I saw it clearly. The thing wore a face that looked almost right. The skin sagged like it didn't fit. Its eyes were too far apart. Its smile stretched wider than any human smile should. I screamed and fell backward. Jake pulled me up, and we ran for the cabin door. The bell screamed as we slammed it open and threw ourselves inside. Jake shoved the door shut and locked it. The bell kept ringing, even though no one touched it. Outside, something slammed into the wall. Once. Twice. The cabin shook. We backed away, grabbing whatever we could. A chair. A lantern. Jake held a fire poker like a bat. From the other side of the door, Mark's voice cried out. Please! It hurts. Let me in. Jake froze. That's not him, I said, but my voice shook. The voice changed. It dropped low and rough. You're right. The door stopped shaking. The woods went quiet. Too quiet. We waited for a long time. When nothing happened, Jake relit the lantern. The light made the cabin feel small but real. We sat on the floor with our backs to the wall, not speaking. At some point, we heard a new sound. Not at the door. Above us. Scraping. The roof creaked. Upstairs, Jake whispered. The scraping moved, slow and careful, like something learning how to walk on a roof. Dust fell from the ceiling. A claw poked through the wood, thin and black. Then another. I grabbed Jake's arm. The window. We ran to the back window and pushed it open. Cold air rushed in. The woods waited dark and deep. I don't want to go out there, Jake said. The roof cracked. A long arm slid through the ceiling, bending the wrong way. Fingers spread wide. We jumped. Branches slapped my face as we ran. The lantern shattered behind us. The cabin groaned as something heavy landed on the ground where we had been. We didn't stop until our lungs burned. We hid behind a fallen log, shaking. Through the trees, I saw a shape stand tall near the cabin. Taller than before. Thinner. Its head brushed the branches. Then another shape stepped out from the opposite side. This one was worse. It was huge, bones sharp under pale skin. Its mouth hung open, dark and deep. Its eyes were empty, like holes cut into a skull. It smelled like old meat and winter air. When it breathed, frost puffed from its mouth. The tall, thin thing turned toward it. The big one growled. They looked at each other, and for one scary moment, I thought they were going to fight. Instead, they turned their heads at the same time. They looked right at us. We ran again. The woods twisted as we fled. Trees seemed closer. Paths disappeared. The ground dipped and rose. Behind us, branches snapped as the big one followed. The other one moved quieter, circling, calling out in voices we knew. Evan, my dad's voice said. This way. Jake, our mom cried. I'm hurt. Jake sobbed as we ran. I held his hand and pulled him forward. Don't listen, I said. Just run. We reached the creek. The water rushed fast and loud. The moon reflected on its surface, broken and sharp. The big creature stopped at the edge. It sniffed the air, angry. The tall, thin one stayed back in the trees, watching. Across, I said. We splashed into the freezing water. My feet went numb. Halfway across, Jake slipped. I grabbed him, and we fell under. The water dragged us downstream. Rocks hit my legs. My head went under again and again. I thought we were going to die. Then we slammed into the bank. I crawled out, gasping, and pulled Jake with me. We lay there, shaking, soaked and freezing. The woods on the other side felt different. Quieter. Older. We stumbled through the trees until we found a small clearing. In the center stood a dead tree, split by lightning. Carved into its trunk were symbols and words. Warnings. Jake touched one and pulled his hand back. It's warm. The air buzzed. I felt it in my teeth. Behind us, the woods erupted with noise. The big creature roared, loud and angry. Trees shook as it charged toward the creek. The tall, thin thing screamed too, a sharp sound full of hate. They did not cross the water. For a while. We huddled by the tree, trying to warm up. The ground near the symbols felt safe, like a bubble. But the cold crept in anyway. Hours passed. The moon moved. The sounds across the creek grew quieter. We can't stay here forever, Jake said. I nodded. We find help at first light. Just then, a new sound drifted from the woods behind us. Soft footsteps. Careful. Human. A figure stepped into the clearing. It was Mark. He looked normal. Dirty. Tired. His eyes were scared. Guys, he said. Thank God. I've been looking everywhere. Jake stood up, hope flooding his face. Wait, I said. My stomach twisted. How did you cross the creek? Mark smiled, slow and calm. I didn't, he said. The ground behind him cracked, and the symbols on the tree began to glow as something massive started to climb out of the earth. The ground split open with a sound like thunder trapped underground. Dirt and roots burst upward. The glowing symbols on the tree burned bright white, lighting the clearing like a silent flash. Jake screamed and fell back. Mark, no, the thing wearing Mark, stepped away as a huge shape pushed itself out of the earth. It was wider than the cabin, its body made of stone, bone, and twisted roots. Its face looked like an old mask, cracked and angry. Its eyes burned the same white light as the symbols. The fake Mark hissed and backed into the trees. From across the creek, the tall, thin creature screamed in rage. The big, hungry one roared, shaking the forest. The giant thing rose fully from the ground and slammed one heavy arm down. The earth shook. The symbols on the tree flared brighter, then shot lines of light across the ground, forming a glowing circle around the clearing. Everything outside that circle screamed. The Wendigo howled as the light burned its skin. The Skinwalker shrieked, its stolen voice breaking into something sharp and broken. They could not cross the glowing line. No matter how hard they tried, they were pushed back. I grabbed Jake and pulled him close. Don't move. The giant turned its head slowly toward us. I was sure we were about to die. Instead, it spoke. Its voice sounded like whined through caves. Old. Tired. Children do not belong here. I'm sorry, I said, my teeth chattering. We didn't know. The giant studied us for a long moment. Then it reached out and touched the dead tree. The light softened. Go, it said. When the sun rises. The creatures in the woods screamed again, angry and afraid. They circled, waiting. The night dragged on. Jake and I stayed inside the glowing circle, pressed against the tree. The giant stood still, like a statue guarding us. Every so often, something tried to cross the line. Every time, the light pushed it back. As the sky slowly turned gray, the screaming stopped. When the sun rose, the light faded. The symbols went dark. The giant sank back into the earth, leaving only cracked ground behind. The woods felt empty. We ran. We followed the creek downstream until we found a road. A ranger truck picked us up an hour later. When we told our story, he listened without smiling. You're lucky, he said. Most people don't make it out. They searched for Mark. They never found him. Jake and I went home. Life went back to normal, mostly. But sometimes, at night, I hear my name whispered from the dark. Sometimes, the wind sounds like someone hungry. And sometimes, when the woods go quiet for no reason at all, I remember the smile that used my mom's voice, and I know those things are still out there, waiting for someone else to listen.